Good morning. Welcome to the July 28th, 2020 board meeting of the Blue Earth County Commissioners. We are going to start by saying the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll start with the agenda review, Bob.
Mr. Chair, there are no changes to the agenda today.
People moves the agenda.
Landcamer seconds.
Got a motion and a second. Jesse, could you call the roll?
Commissioner Peepo?
Aye.
Commissioner Purvis?
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder?
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer?
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg?
Aye. Then we're going to go right to the CASA 41 Bridge Bid Award. Ryan?
Morning, Commissioners. Thank you for allowing me in at this meeting.
Could you give your name and who you are?
Ryan
for the people?
Tilges, Blue Earth County Public Works Director and County Engineer.
Thank you.
For your consideration this morning is the results of the bids for County State Highway 41 bridge replacement over the LeSueur River, State Project 007-641-007. We received 5 bids. Minowa Construction was the apparent low bid. Second, Redstone. Third, Prom. Fourth, Robert Schroeder. And fifth, Icon Constructors. The engineer's estimate, as provided to you on the attached project bid summary, was $2.12 million. Minowa Construction came in within 5% at $2.228 million. So fairly decent bids. Are this project, as you recall, was a bit delayed because of approvals. I would allocate a lot of it to COVID, just delays with respect to plan approvals and right-of-way acquisition because of pandemic conditions. So we are getting this out to bid with the intent to begin construction this year. And the contractor would either return the road to the new alignment over the new bridge with a gravel road base for the winter, or leave the existing road and bridge in and then work at a little bit slower pace with the entire project to be completed in June 2021. So with that being said, I would recommend award of the contract to Minowa Construction for $2,228,704.91.
Brunder will move approval.
People will second.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Do you feel confident that Minowa Construction's up to par? And
Yep, they're a reputable bridge building company. They've done projects for us in the past, and confident moving forward with them.
okay. Any other discussion? Jesse, could you call a roll, please?
Commissioner Peepo?
Aye.
Commissioner Purvis?
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder?
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer?
Aye.
Commissioner Stuenberg?
Aye. It'd be good to get that one going.
Absolutely, and as a reminder, that is a federal aid project, so we've got, I believe it was $940,000 of federal aid dollars, which is why the process was slower than our typical state aid process. Having to go through that extra layer of review at the state aid central office and bridge offices took additional time with everybody spread out due to the pandemic and teleworking.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, just so because of the COVID experience, that is the reason for some of the delays.
It's some of the delays.
So it could be a allowable expense.
It's hard to quantify.
Well,
It's without a unless
Yeah.
you'd somehow
I'm-
try to justify your
yeah.
estimate, but
I'm just trying to figure out how we make sure that anything that is allowable we use.
yep,
So,
if there's
thank you.
something we would need to send in for support for that
Yep.
claim, let us know.
Okay,
Yep,
thanks, Ryan.
thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we're going to go into the Livestock Manure Management Standards Ordinance Amendment. Is Garrett here?
Mm-hmm. They're in the hall.
Garrett, could you give your name and position for the people?
Yep. Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
My name
Morning,
is
Garrett.
Garrett Rolfing. I'm with Property and Environmental Resources. I'm the County Feedlot Officer for Blue Earth County. PC 04-20 is a request for Blue Earth County for review and approval of an amendment to the Blue Earth County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 6, Environment. The purpose of the ordinance amendment is to update Article 2, Livestock Manure Management, commonly referred to as the Feedlot Ordinance. The ordinance amendment addresses setbacks for new feedlots and manure application, livestock mortality box placement, and site acreage requirements. The amendment includes a change to animal unit calculations, definitions, and other items more closely to align the ordinance with Minnesota Rule Chapter 7020, Animal Feedlots. The Blue Earth County Property and Environmental Resources Department conducted an online survey regarding the feedlot program and regulations. The survey was available from November 22, 2019 until December 20th, 2019. County staff conducted interviews with stakeholders, including the Minnesota Pork Producers Association, Minnesota Board of Animal Health, University of Minnesota Extension Service, a livestock rendering company, and an agricultural lender. An open house was held on December 11, 2019, which included brief presentations and discussions regarding ordinance revision topics. The County Board of Commissioners held a work session on January 7, 2020 to review the proposed ordinance amendment. The proposed ordinance was also sent to the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency and the Minnesota Department of Agriculture in accordance with Minnesota Statute 394.25, subsection 3C. In February 2020, the County Attorney's Office provided review and comments pertaining to the proposed ordinance revisions. Staff presented the initial report to the Planning Commission on March 4th, 2020. A public citizen commented on the attachment and provided the Commission their concern with changing the incorporation time from 48 hours to 24 hours for manure applications, along with their concern with increased setbacks to open tile intakes when manure is not incorporated. Following a lengthy discussion, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to forward to the County Board a recommendation of approval of the ordinance amendment based on the findings prepared by staff. Due to COVID-19, the public meeting of the County Board was delayed. At the July 7th, 2020 County Board work session, the Property and Environmental Resources Department provided a review of the proposed ordinance amendment to the County Board. The board action is the ordinance.
All right. At this time, we will open the public comment portion of the hearing. And if you're on the reference call line and would like to make a comment regarding the Livestock Manure Management Standards Ordinance Amendment, please state your name and address for the record. Everybody will have an opportunity to speak, so please be patient. Is there anyone wishing to comment?
Chair Stuenberg, could you ask again? It was on mute.
Is there anyone wishing to comment on the Manure Management Standards Ordinance Amendment? Is there anyone wishing to comment? One last time, anyone wishing to comment on this item? If not, we will close the public comment portion.
Purvis moves approval.
Brunder will second.
We got a motion and a second. Are there any comments from the board?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Brunder. First of all, I'd just like to tell Garrett and his staff that they did a great job on this. I really appreciated the open house they had. I know I've mentioned that in the past, but I thought that process went really well. I did have a little concern about pushing the 1,000 feet to 1,500 as I talked to some of my constituencies out in the rural area, but I kind of got a split on either way. Most of them, some of them were pig farmers, and they thought it would make sense to just keep it even all the way around the 1,500. And a few people were a little concerned about it, but I think at the end of the day, it'll just make things simpler and more productive for the staff and for people out there that are trying to read the ordinance. So thank you for all your work you did on this, and I do appreciate it, and it's nice to see it get done.
Thanks.
Any other comments? If not, Jesse, could you please take the roll call?
Commissioner People?
Aye.
Commissioner Purvis?
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder?
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer?
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg?
Aye. And that passes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Garrett.
Have a good night.
All right. So now we're going to jump right into planning and zoning with George.
Morning, George.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning, George.
Okay. Planning and zoning are here to present the action items. This is a public hearing, and public comment will be allowed in just a moment. I'd ask the planning and zoning staff to please introduce themselves for the record and introduce the items before the board. Go ahead, George.
I am George Leary with Blue Earth County Planning and Zoning. PC 07-20 is a request from Janet Sands Andrig and Andy McGuire with Lawn Crafters LLC. The request is for review and approval of a conditional use permit to operate a lawn care and landscaping business in the agricultural zoning district. The property is located in the southwest quarter of the northwest quarter of Section 21, Leray Township. Mr. Salisbury presented the staff report. The Planning Commission members indicated the proposed use will be a good use of the property and it is supported by the county land use plan. Following the discussion and a roll call vote, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of the request to the county board and to adopt the findings prepared by staff. The board action is a resolution, and Mr. Chairman, I believe that Mr. Salisbury is on the phone and available to answer any questions that the commissioners may have.
Okay. Is there any questions for Mr. Salisbury?
No?
No? No? All right. At this time, we'll open the public comment portion of the hearing. If you're on the conference call line and would like to make a comment in regards to PC 0720, please state your name and address for the record, and everyone will have an opportunity to speak, so please be patient. Is there anyone that would like to comment on PC 0720? One last time, is there anyone that would like to comment on PC 0720? If not, we will close the public comment portion.
Brenda would move approval.
People second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Without any discussion, Jesse, could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner People,
Aye.
Commissioner Purvis.
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder,
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer,
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg.
Aye. That passes. We'll go on to PC 0820. George?
PC 08-20 is a request from Lewis and Eileen Kleindon. Is a request for review and approval of a conditional use permit for grading and filling for the purpose of elevating a flood-prone driveway. The project is located in the northwest quarter of Section 18, Pleasant Mountain Township, in the agricultural zoning district and the shoreland overlay of Perch Creek. Ms. Conrad presented the report. The Planning Commission members acknowledged the need to raise the driveway and have no objections to the request. Following the discussion and a roll call vote, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of the request to the county board and to adopt the findings prepared by staff. The board action is a resolution, and Mr. Chairman, I believe that Ms. Conrad is on the phone available to answer any questions.
Okay. Anyone have a question?
No?
No?
No.
No. Okay. At this time, we'll open the public comment portion of the hearing, and if you're on the conference call line and would like to make a comment in regard to PC 0820, please state your name and address for the record. Everyone will have an opportunity to speak, so please be patient. Is there anyone that would like to comment on PC 0820? Is there anyone that would like to comment on PC 0820? Last time, anyone that would like to comment on PC 0820? If not, we will close the public comment portion and we'll take it to the board.
Purvis moves approval.
Landcamer seconds?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I tell you, this almost seems like a common sense proposal. They want to raise their driveway up so it doesn't get flooded.
Yeah.
Man, that only makes sense. What a great idea. All right. Any other discussion? Jesse, could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner People?
Aye.
Commissioner Purvis?
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder? Commissioner Landcamer?
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg?
Aye. And I think that finishes this. We got one more?
One more.
One more.
Oh, well, look, there. Oh, yep, I didn't turn the page. PC 0920, go ahead, George.
PC 09-20 is a request from Elijah Depute. It's a request for review and approval of a conditional use permit to operate an equipment repair shop as a level 2 home occupation in the agricultural zone district. The property is located in part of the northwest quarter of Section 17, Lyra Township. Mr. Leary presented the report. The Planning Commission members had no objections to the request and indicated it matches the objectives of the county land use plan. Following the discussion and a roll call vote, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of the request to the county board and to adopt the findings prepared by staff, and the board action is a resolution.
Right. At this time, we will open the public comment portion of the hearing. If you are on the conference call line and would like to make a comment on PC 0920, please state your name and address for the record. Everyone will have an opportunity to speak, so please be patient. Is there anyone that would like to comment on PC 0920? Is there anyone that would like to comment on PC 0920? One last time, is there anyone that would like to comment on PC 0920? If not, we'll close the public comment portion and we will bring it back to the board.
Purvis moves approval.
Brunder will second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? With no discussion, Jesse, could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner People?
Aye.
Commissioner Purvis?
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder?
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer?
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg?
Aye. And that passes, and now I think I'm done.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Commissioner.
George.
Thank you,
Thanks,
George.
Thanks, George.
Okay. And it brings us to Human Services.
Fireplace room?
Mr. Chair, maybe we could move to some administrative services items while we're waiting for Mr.
Go ahead.
Clausen to arrive.
Go ahead.
First item will be the county board minutes for June 23rd.
Landcamer moves the minutes.
People seconds.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any discussion? If not, Jesse, could you call a roll, please?
Commissioner People?
Aye.
Commissioner Purvis?
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder?
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer?
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg?
Aye.
Next would be the bills for the weeks of July 9th and July 16th.
Brunder will move approval.
Purvis seconds.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? I did have a few. There's Dirt Merchants for $160,000.
I know it's a road project.
Got to be one of the ditch projects.
Might be a
Well,
bit-
maybe a ditch.
Actually, it's road and bridge. It's work on County Road 1, it looks like.
Okay.
Yep.
Next one I have is OMG Midwest for $860,000.
That is the 2020 overlays, kind of across the county.
Okay. And the second week, I got Great River Energy for $630,000.
That is the relocation of utility poles along County Road 27.
And then there's right underneath that is Groundworks backhoe service for $148,000.
That is on County Ditch 5, so some work there.
Okay. And the last one I have is RDO equipment for $237,000. What truck did we, or piece of equipment did we buy there?
That is a John Deere 644L loader unit.
Okay. That all makes sense. Any more discussion?
Nope. I went over them all yesterday with Bob.
Yeah, sometimes the public likes to know what we got here. All right, Jesse, could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner People,
Yeah, aye.
Commissioner Purvis.
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder,
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer,
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg.
Aye. And that passes. And it looks like we can get right to Human Services.
Morning, Phil.
Morning, Phil.
Hi, Phil, how are you?
I'm okay. Jesse, for quick.
Thank you.
I apologize, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. I really am trying to time this right, and I just didn't get it right again this morning. I'm sorry. Thought I'd be early, but wasn't, so I apologize for that.
We're just plowing through this.
Yeah, I'm fast. I was like 6 items. I had 15 minutes. Nope. But I'll try to follow suit here. Today is Chemical Health Day for Human Services, so everything I'm talking about has something to do with our services to the community with regard to chemical health. Just one action item, Mr. Chair, for Nystrom and Associates. It's a contract for Rule 25 assessments. The board's seen us bring a number of vendors in town through that do this work for us, which we've become very dependent on. The Rule 25 is the name of the assessments that we do for individuals who are the financial responsibility of Blue Earth County based on qualifying income. $155 per assessment, and that is a standard rate for all of our vendors who do this for us. There is a sentence at the end just to again make the board aware that DHS has been in the process of reform for substance abuse, and it's gone on for a long time and it's still not implemented, but these will be called comprehensive assessments into the future, and they're a little more involved, a little more holistic, which we certainly support. Yellow line, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes, kind of prompted us to go to contracts with all the different vendors in town as opposed to doing the Rule 25s ourselves back in the ALFAC days that a lot of you are aware of. So the model changed, and now that mirrors what the state is going to do. They really want it to be an open assessment process where people have choice. They have a number of vendors they can choose from. We're, if anything, a little skinny, so Nystrom's new to town, and we're really glad that they're willing to do this because we do like to have a decent number of vendors who offer choice to the consumers. So that's my action item for today.
I'll move the action item.
People, second.
Got a motion and a second? Any discussion?
Just a comment. My mother used to do Rural 25
Oh, yeah.
for Ramsey County.
For Ramsey County.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, back in the day, it seems like another lifetime ago, but I used to do them myself, Commissioner, too, so it seems like a different life.
Yep.
But yeah.
Any other comments or discussion? Not seeing any. Jesse, could you call a roll, please?
Commissioner People,
Aye.
Commissioner Purvis,
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder,
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer,
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg.
Aye. All right, then we have some informational and discussion items.
Yes, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, two real categories here to talk about: detox, which is certainly related to Yellow Line, and then Yellow Line itself, and some updates with regard to that project. The first page in your packet is really just informational. You'll see the very last bullet that kind of follow the slides that we're going to look at. has a little more detail about revenues and expenditures. The good news is that in the sense that our revenues, our ability to gain back funds is up, and our expenses are overall down, so that's the trend you look for. From a business modeling perspective, the first bar graph just shows the 8 years of history, and you'll see that high point before yellow line in 2015 where we were trending straight upwards towards over $500,000 at the peak, and then it's come down quite nicely and been stable. There's no doubt that COVID has affected some of this in 2020, so I think we could see changes either way based on some of the realities that we've been up against, but no doubt a very positive trend, and cost effectiveness for yellow line is really the story there. The next page shows that we do collect fees, and that's gone back and forth. Sometimes our vendor, Brown County Evaluation Center, has done this, and sometimes we've done it. We're doing it now, and you'll see the offset of the net costs against the 386 to 239,000 is our net cost, and then we collect fees close to $150,000. So that's kind of the picture of detox. I'm going to keep rolling. If people have questions, certainly related to yellow line, and some of these slides will be familiar, but they have been updated. The project status slide, there's 3 bullets. We did, and I announced this to the board, finally, after I think 3 years of effort legislatively, we were able to get billable MA coverage in Minnesota, and that will be retroactive to the 1st of last year. And so we'll go back and chase some of that billing. It's really good news, and there will be access. Yes, it's a big deal, just to other counties. So a lot of counties are calling us and asking us, so what's the next steps? DHS has to set up kind of a provider enrollment process, and that's taking them a long time, is what I would say. And so we'll see if they can speed that up, but realistically, first of the year, I think more counties could join. They're going to use us as their kind of pilot county, and so we're rolling on that and talking with them on a regular basis. Second bullet is really just about infrastructure investment. We've really tried to tighten up the guidelines and the pathways, and I'll show you that slide. And then eligibility criteria, documentation, workflow requirements. We've just spent a lot of time making sure that we all agree with our partners, law enforcement, and Pat's office, and certainly the Crisis Center as our real primary partners in how the workflows go. And then the final bullet just talks about proactive strategy, which is called our collaborative outreach. We talked previously about debrief meetings where we'd get together and talk about cases. We've kind of flopped that to a proactive collaborative outreach approach. So we get together, and anyone, what I've been really pleased with law enforcement, has brought cases forward saying, hey, we came in contact with this person, does anybody know? And they're able to talk about some of that. We adhere to all of our HIPAA standards, but if it is a case that we have to talk in general terms, say we have a person, here's how they present, here's what the issues are, here's some strategies that we can all agree to, so we can de-escalate a plan through a plan rather than have a situation that escalates on its own. So no doubt this is a hot topic with the whole law enforcement scrutiny that we're under right now, and so I think the timing of us having this in place and trying to do this particular part of proactive outreach is really a nice addition. That group meets twice a month, depending on volume of need. And like I say, it's a multidisciplinary care consultation on an individualized basis. The next slide is the pathway slide. It is organized in this way because it makes the most sense, but our history started in the middle with the pre-booking diversion, where we would meet with law enforcement in the pre-booking area of the jail. That's where we started. We really moved back to the street and spend a lot of our time there now doing street interventions through mobile crisis. And then finally, the big addition in this past year or two has been Pat's involvement in our 1 to 3 day incarceration pathway, which I think there's even some room to expand how many days we're looking at, but definitely looking for those people that the incarceration will be, make everything harder on them as well as on us, and is there a way we can better treat those people other than incarceration. And so we work closely with the county attorney's office, the judges, trying to get people back out of jail as soon as possible when they're not at risk to the community. So that's our big issue. So that's just a picture of our expansion and the evolution of options over time. The next slide talks about our core focus areas, just what are we trying to do. First, improve access, and how we've done this to services is screen everyone. That's another way to avoid any kind of discrimination or people saying that we're cherry picking or working only with a certain group of people or a certain presentation of problems. We're offering a screening to everyone, and they can certainly refuse it, but we do that on purpose. The next one, engagement for timely services, and this one is something we've learned about through the project, that the window of opportunity is clearly 24 to 48 hours. What happens, and I certainly see this back in my treatment days, where when people do hit a low spot, when they hit their bottom, as they talk about, there's an opportunity to try to negotiate a different pathway. And that window opens and then it closes. And people then just decide, it's not so bad. I feel better, sobered up for a couple days. I'm going to go back and try it again. I can do this myself. And so we try to jump in during that open window time. And we do know that in the jail there's been some people that have been reluctant too. And so we've been trying to show some grace as if they say no, but then they sit a night in jail and say, well, maybe I will talk to you. We certainly try to allow for that kind of flexibility too. Not way down the road, but that the motivation is pure, not because they want to avoid their consequence to society. I think everybody has to pay that, but if they're really interested in getting help, that we want to be there for them. And then finally, just to reduce the jail bed days, I know Pat and I were talking that even before COVID, there was a marked decrease in jail census, so we were very pleased with that. Now with COVID, everything's skewed as far as our statistics, so it's impossible to know what kind of net effect we're really having on the jail currently. But I would say for months ahead of time, Pat was really the one that pointed it out to me, that the jail census was lower, and I think that's a really good thing. It's part of what we were hoping for. Not saying it's all a direct effect of Yellow Line, but it certainly is included in that story. And then just some data to share with the board. In 2019, almost 1,100 people were screened and offered information and referral. And I do want to comment on that. I think for me, back to you have a treatment plan and you treat someone, I was more interested in probably that last number where we went from 290 people who were referred and were eligible to 132 people that actually engaged. And I thought our project would be about that 132 people, which it certainly is. On the other hand, back to the very first piece, we feel that the information referral and the screening itself has a great value, more value than we probably realize, because we can refer people. A lot of them have been to treatment before. They don't really need their handheld. They just need to get back in treatment. And they'll do that with one step, saying, I think it's time for you to go back. And so I think the utility and the bang for the buck is represented both in the very first part and obviously the very last part, where we have intensive people where we work with them very individually and try to stop that revolving door back to the jail. A few more data points from 2019. We're seeing a very steady 80 to 82% of screened individuals having mental health or chemical health needs. Time and time again, we see studies and state information that says 30 to 50% of this population will have those issues, and we're clearly almost double that, and it's just been really a consistent finding that that's a very low number.
That's amazingly high.
It's very high, and it's very consistent year over year, Commissioner, yes. And then these last two are obviously important too. Those people that do fully engage, 68% successfully complete, and also 68% do not have additional law enforcement contacts within 3, 6, and 12 months when we followed them. The old slogan in treatment was "fake it until you make it," and that that sounds a little, you know, suspicious, just faking it. But what it is you have to change your pattern of behavior. And so you have to stick with it, no matter what your brain tells you. You have to stick with it. And so you fake it till you make it. And then really the other thing is you just don't ever quit. Just don't quit. And that's what this says to me, is the people that stick with it and stay, you know, out of harm's way for a year afterwards. The people that drop out, I think, are the people that we'll see again. It's just kind of the way it is. So change is a really deep commitment for any of us. We can all relate to that when we have to change our ways. Not easy to break those patterns, and especially when it involves chemicals or maybe even something, you know, in our own chemistry about mental health that we can't control. It's very difficult to have that as the thing that you're kind of trying to reprogram. The next slide's very involved, but you know, to look at. But really, what it's saying is that in order to track outcomes and have statistical significance, we have to look at cohort groups. We have to track groups, because if you compare who's in yellow line right now, some have been in a month, some have been 3 months. You know, who knows? So you have to track a time frame, the people in that time frame out a year, see how they do. So that's how we came up with the average statistics, like the 68% is based on that kind of thinking. And then the next slide is one I think the board's familiar with. The detox graph is the same one that we showed in the bar graph. And the next one has to do with treatment costs, which we actually expected would go up, which they did early on, but they have leveled off and now gone back down. It's hard to predict that. I think we're open to spending more money in treating people than incarcerating people, is kind of the theory. So we'll see where that goes. I think with COVID, again, that'll be skewed in this next year, probably significantly. And then probably the most important one from just a cost perspective is the state hospital costs, where dramatic decrease from before yellow line trending upwards towards $326,000. And the last then really, you know, 3 years plus 4 years have been down. I will say we have a couple of high-end cases that I think will show up in our numbers in 2020. And so, you know, it's not going to stay down and flat forever, but I think that we don't return to those previous levels is what we're looking for.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is it still so hard to get people into treatment quickly?
Well, with COVID, I can say, Commissioner, it's very difficult. So that it's been increasingly difficult to get somebody into treatment. Prior to COVID, it still was a big problem, and there was still waiting. So it's not an impossible thing. I know I've talked candidly like this before. Jesse, who now moved into the jail and is working as a jail social worker, has a lot of connections, and sometimes if you do know somebody, it's helpful to get somebody in, and so some of that happens. And so we've been successful of trying to leverage some of our relationships and some of our utilization. If we have a preferred provider, they tend to try to treat you well, and so that makes it a little easier. I will say the inertia, you hit the worst part of that story is the state hospital, is getting people in and getting them out at times. It's just very, very difficult, and there's long waiting periods. And what's so hard is you determine clinically that someone's in a crisis, and then you say you have to wait a month. It makes no sense. It's like you have to go to the emergency room, but you know, come see us in a month. It's literally what we're saying, and it's very a broken system. So we try to use the crisis center, some safe plan to buy time when what they really need is a long treatment course. So I would say it was difficult but manageable prior to COVID, and then now it's been tough as well. But I think a lot of people, you know, will see a blip back up, because a lot of people, we don't know how their, especially chemical use, is going right now, because they might be home using whatever, and we'll see what we're really dealing with as time goes on.
Thank you.
The next slide is really just a picture of both mobile crisis and the obviously increased calls through the bar graph over time, and the heavy leaning prior to that. You'll see the calls by the other part is law enforcement calls, that law enforcement really wasn't using our mobile crisis before the Yellow Line project, and now there's been a nice trend upwards, as well as the overall utilization. So the mobile calls includes both law enforcement and community or self-referrals that happen through mobile.
Okay.
And that's really it. I would say to commissioners, if you ever are wondering, we do update the website all the time, so if you ever need data or anything like that, certainly go out, and that's that final slide, and look. But we can find information. If you need something specific, just let me know, or Angie, and we'll certainly get you what you need as far as data goes.
Congratulations on the recognition of the yellow
thank you.
line.
Yeah,
that was
a big
really
deal too.
wonderful.
Yeah,
You know, this is something that, if you look into what's going on nationwide, we're talking about different issues with law enforcement and how things should be handled in law enforcement. Even in the federal level, they say, well, what you got to do is look to the suburbs. They're doing it right. In Minnesota, they say, look at Mankato and Blue Earth County.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are being recognized for having the crisis center. We are being recognized for having the Yellow Line project. And this is what the change in law enforcement they're asking about. We've already done it.
right.
It's across the United States, across the state of Minnesota, that they have to make these changes and try to do things like that. I really commend you and your staff.
Thank you.
This is we've taken the step a few years back to start doing this, not knowing that this was going to happen this year.
Exactly.
But we took the step, and now people are looking to you and other people in the crisis center saying, how do we do this?
Right. Right.
You know, I mean, I've asked people, what do you mean by defunding the law enforcement?
Yeah.
Well, they mean do it like the suburbs are doing it. That's what they mean.
Mm-hmm.
They don't mean to get rid of, cops. What they mean is do it like we're doing it. Well, we haven't gotten rid of cops. What we're doing is trying to help people.
Yep.
And people need to understand that's what it means.
You bet. I thank you, Commissioner, and I do, when you were talking, I think back those of stepping up, how I felt support from each and every one of you, very sincere and personal support at times when we've been at crossroads or not sure. It certainly has evolved, like we went over today, it's tweaked. The mission hasn't changed, but how we do it has changed. And you guys have just been supportive of that. Before, yeah, we were, I always say we were planning in the dark. We didn't know how it was going to look. We had to build it in the dark. And now I think the timing of it has been really positive. And yeah, we get a lot of reach outs on this mentor site issue, to have people reach out across the nation and hopefully come, they can pick who they want to come see. So hopefully some will pick us.
They will.
And they do have money to fund the teams to come see a mentor site. So that's how that really works. We get like a couple $1,000s, but not quite sure what we can spend it on. I was talking to Jack, who's our contact there, and he's like, well, you can buy food for the meetings and blah blah blah. And then later his assistant called, yeah, Jack was wrong, you can't buy food with it. And it's not $3,000, it's $2,000. But anyway, the real point is that they have some funding to come see a different place and look at that. So we're definitely excited about that opportunity, and it keeps you, like, I hope we representing you all, that it keeps you feeling like it's worth doing. The risk was worth the reward, and it feels very rewarding and satisfying when you have people reach out and we compare notes and we get sharpened off all these. I have a call with Beltrami County here coming up next week, and
Oh, good.
it almost weekly we get somebody calling and just saying, can we chat? And so it's a really, really positive thing, and I'm very grateful right back at you guys for the support. It's been really a rewarding thing. I said a lot of times our work isn't very satisfying, but some of this has been, so I appreciate that very much.
Well, I remember the year that Will and I came back from the NACO thing, and they were talking about stepping up. And we brought it to you folks, and you just
That's right.
took it and run. And
Definitely.
And it was a group effort between law enforcement, Mankato Police, the Blue Earth County Sheriff's Department, the County Attorney's Office, your office, probation. Everybody worked together to try to get this thing off the ground.
Right.
I tell you what, I'm very proud to have you folks in this area. It just makes me feel good that we're doing the right thing.
Thank you, Commissioner. That really helps, that really matters to us. I will say the one thing that I would want to make clear to the board is that, yeah, we, as you know and have heard from us, is that we do believe in this pivot point and role definition. So our big thing was always, social workers and cops aren't social workers. That's something, a line we have drawn in the sand that we've tried to stick to, is that cops have a certain job to do. We respect that, but the most important thing is the pivot and the handoff, and how do we do that? And so we've figured that out within roles. There are programs that teach cops how to do de-escalation, which I'm certainly all for, but it's kind of like, any analogy, but like a paramedic, hands off and then says, here's to the doc. And that's how I really think we need to do that both ways. Not that a cop shouldn't be able to de-escalate a situation. They do it all the time, and so do paramedics, because you're forced to. But it's what are our primary roles? And I just firmly believe that social workers are wired different than cops. They have different kind of skill sets, and that's the conviction that we're kind of going with. So I do want to make that clear, because that is a distinction where I think trying to say, a holistic approach to law enforcement is difficult for me, because you're asking somebody to do two different things at once, whereas if you team it, just what you were saying, we've seen great payoff. And so the mantra is always 1 + 1 = 2.5. If you get two people working together, you get an outcome that's bigger than just even the two people. And that's what we've seen. So that's kind of our passion point with some of that too.
Thank you.
I think the other really important piece is, you have to experiment and, review it and adjust. And I think this is such a great project. I can't say enough good things about it, but it'll change in the future too. You'll always be adjusting, I would assume.
Right, definitely.
Yeah.
All we have since the beginning, and I always think the mission and some of those core tenets, I hope those don't change dramatically, because we still have our focus on these really simple kind of 3 bullet point mantras. But how we do it has shifted. It really has, and it will. I think we're very open to that. And it's interesting, like who you have doing the work, who the screener is, all that stuff can matter. And so those things change, the circumstance change. This fact that we can build around a revenue source is a huge structural addition. So yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Thank you all very much.
Congratulations.
Yeah, we'll be back.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. We'll be back in a little bit, Angie and I, and talk about some of our CARES money too. So.
And speaking of Angie, she has been enormously helpful in the Blue Ribbon Committee.
Yeah.
The Maxa stuff has just been stellar.
Agreed. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you all. See you later.
All right. Get into some drainage.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I think Mr. Austinson is online on the phone, so.
All right.
Yes, thank you. We have 3 drainage items of the day. The first one is to set a hearing date for redetermination of benefits for Judicial Ditch 7. That's in Judson Township. We're proposing it to be on September 8th.
All right. Take it to the board.
Move approval.
Second by Langhammer.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just a clarification, Mr. Chair, it's September 8th at 9 a.m.
Is that 9 a.m.?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
It's in the order.
Yep, just want to make sure.
All right. Any other discussion? Jesse, call the roll, please.
Commissioner People?
Aye.
Commissioner Purvis?
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder?
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer?
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg?
Aye. Go ahead, Greg.
Okay, the second hearing is, we want to set a hearing date. This is for improvement and redetermination of benefits for JD 14. JD 14 and 7 are actually kind of together, so that's why we don't want to hold the meetings together at the same time, save the board some time, and because it'll be the same landowners too. So, but that's JD 14. That's also in Judson Township, and again, that would also be setting hearing date for September 8th at 9 a.m.
Brunder will move approval.
Purvis seconds.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Jesse, call the roll, please.
Commissioner People?
Aye.
Commissioner Purvis?
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder?
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer?
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg?
Aye. All right. Go ahead, Greg.
And the last one here is for J7. We had a hearing on this on June 23rd. There should have been a resolution to finance, but that action was not taken at that time. So we're just asking the board to pass a resolution to financing on the improvements to Judicial District 7. This is in Garden City Township.
Is that 7?
17.
17.
That's right, 17.
Purvis moves approval.
People seconds.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Jesse, could you call a roll, please?
Commissioner Peepo?
Aye.
Commissioner Purvis?
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder?
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer?
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg?
Aye. Is that all we got today, Greg?
That's all I get today.
All
Thank you
right.
very much.
Thank you for your work. All right. Back to Administrative Services, Bob?
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 10 in your packet is the Human Resources Department agenda, just informational items for the board today. We did fill a social worker position in Human Services, as well as a custody officer. And then we did receive a resignation of a taxpayer services specialist position, and in talking with the department head, determined that it might be best, instead of replacing that position, that we look at a GIS specialist position. So that's item E in your on that page. So we've initiated recruitment to fill that GIS position, and then item D is initiation of recruitment for the County Attorney Division Chief. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board might have.
Any questions? No. I think that kind of brings us right back to commissioner reports, doesn't it?
It does.
Hey, it's not even 10 o'clock yet.
We're moving.
I'm going to tell you.
Cuts down on what you say because of the mask.
Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. It's kind of like having those Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So Mark, why don't you start us off with what you've done for the last 2 weeks?
Started off. Okay. Let's see, after the board meeting on Tuesday the 14th, I wasn't at the work session, but I did make the joint ditch meeting we had at 1:30. And then July 21st, I think Colleen was on that too, Commissioner.
Yeah,
on
it was.
camera. The virtual meeting with was actually MnDOT and was went through Maple here to form a regional transportation coordinating council. That's what they want for the area with the transportation for the region. Like True might be involved, and I think it was like Blue Earth, Nicollet, and Sibley, and I think it was Jackson and Faribault, I believe. And we're about kind of the last area I think that's really getting into that, because we were the last to do that transit, to try to do a transit system like that. And that was informative, and I think some deadlines, and that's moving forward. Then July 23rd did have a Partners for Affordable Housing meeting, and went through a lot of things. We did have a strategic planning, everything was virtual, and we ended up, because of kind of a confusion on our name with other things going on with affordable housing, and it isn't really just affordable housing. So after deliberation of different names, we are actually called, not too different, but shorter, Partners for Housing, so, which makes some sense, yeah, a little bit better than affordable.
It's still the same PAH, so
Yeah,
that's helpful.
Yeah, it works. Yep, it works good. So moving right along with that, and we'll have to. We can't quite do everything.
They don't want to make it affordable anymore? Or?
No, it's Well, it's because we try to get people housing, and it's more transitional, it's short-term more, hopefully, and it's, yeah. We still have apartments that are subsidized, but it makes a little more sense. Because they keep talking about affordable housing for when they build places, you know, and have people, they qualify for, you know, a subsidy or something. You know, like the ones by Madison East Pond River, the Pond View, things like that. So yeah.
Mr. Chair, I think it's really good that you took the affordable out, because
Yeah.
I think too many people have a negative connotation about affordable.
Yeah.
That's why I always call it workforce, because most people are working, and probably more than one job. So I think it's a really good idea, Mark.
Yeah, and that's I think that's kind of how
That
it
makes
ended up.
sense.
There was different alternatives.
That makes perfect
That was the
sense.
best one, I think, and it works for us. So that actually then concludes my report, Mr. Chair, and that's it.
Thank you, Mark. Will?
Yeah. Of course, after our board meeting, we had our work session on the 14th, and then the joint drainage meeting with LeSueur County. The 16th, I had the South Central Transit meeting. And yesterday, I had the PACE meeting and the Rural Minnesota Energy Board meeting. Quite busy with detox. We've had some folks test positive for the COVID-19, so we're working through that. The resignation of one of our financial managers, so we're looking for that. Also met with a constituent in Judson Township regarding the flooding that happened after the big rains, and worked with the folks down in South Bend Township regarding their issues down there, and just that's about it for me.
How much rain you get down in Vernon Center?
We got 4 inches.
Because I was gone during the time, but my neighbor said he figures up by us, we got over 9 inches.
Oh.
Yeah, it varies from.
Yeah, it varied
Yeah.
from here, from upper Mankato on the east side over to North Mankato. They said they had over 7, whatever. I know the airport said it had like 8.65 or something like that. But
Yeah.
We were very fortunate. We and it all soaked in. It was
Yeah,
really
yeah.
dry. So, yeah.
interesting. Kip?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. After our last board meeting, the work session and joint ditch meeting were already mentioned. The joint ditch meeting was with LeSueur County with some redetermination of benefits and trying to deal with some water issues over that way and some repairs. Had our MVAC full board meeting. It was supposed to be our annual meeting and give out our awards for all of the people that work so hard in our 9-county area, but unfortunately with the COVID, we decided just to dispense of that and not do it at all. We did still do the Robert J. Wolf Award though, and I forget the person's name that won it, but we did award it at that meeting. No public thing, so just really low key, unfortunately, because these people work so hard throughout the year to try to get things done. And it was somebody from Sibley County, so the Sibley County Board is going to present it to the person that won it, and Amanda's going to go down and try to do it again with social distancing and all of the policies in place. It's hard to recognize people that do so much stuff in our community, but unfortunate, but we got that done. As far as the MVAC meeting goes, we had a lot of things going on, some more money coming in. Judd had some more reports of some more money coming in to try to help people out, so they're still going really well. Of course, the Head Start program is just up in the air. Poor Chris has no idea really what's going on. They're expecting him to put all these plans together of the what ifs, so they're putting all kinds of plans together. If it does open, if it doesn't open, if it opens part-time, so all these plans, and they don't know what they're going to do. So I know we got to prepare, but at some point we just got to wait till somebody makes a decision and then scramble to get the things done, because taking all this time and energy to make plans up over speculation just seems to be unproductive to me. But again, that's not my forte. Had our statewide emergency communication board phone conference. Everything seems to be going fairly well there. I'm on the legislative committee. We haven't really done much because everything done at the legislative is about COVID, and we just have a few little things we're working on, but we didn't get anything done last session, but we'll be moving forward with that this year. We also had our EMS board. Mark had a good report with all the stuff going on. He's very involved in the COVID stuff and trying to get PPE to everyone. He's doing a great job. We had his review for the year. We gave him a little bit of an increase, and he got another grant for some more PPE came in the other day, and so they're distributing that to all the ambulance services and the rescue services, and he's constantly on the go dealing with that. And as was just talked about briefly, been dealing with some road issues and drainage with all the rain we had the other night. So other than that, just day-to-day operations with constituencies and some water and drainage issues, and that's my report, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Colleen.
As was mentioned, on the 14th, we had a work session. On the 15th, I had an AMC NACO Central Region figuring out how we're going to do that in Minnesota with the NACO board representatives. Then I was on a rural policy webinar, and then I had the NACO board meeting that actually went better than I thought it would virtually. You never know when you have counties from across the nation and what's going to happen, but it went well. You know, we're down in the budget, but luckily we have real healthy reserves at NACO, so we're going to be okay. They still think we might have a full board meeting, so we'll see what happens. It all depends on COVID. Nobody knows. On the 17th, we had the NACO membership meeting. On the 18th, it was really fun. Glenn Whitley put together all the past presidents, and we had a Zoom call where there were 18 of us on the call, just talking about everything that's going on in everybody's life. So that was really fun. On the 20th was the NACO annual business meeting. I also, after that, had an AMC Economic Development, Workforce, and Housing Subcommittee meeting. Focused primarily on housing at this point, trying to figure out, you know, with dollars going away for rent, et cetera, it could be a real challenge. Mark and I were in the RTCC planning process. They're looking for somebody to be the host for that. I know I have some really good ideas, like across the street, but we'll see what happens. And on the 22nd, I had a Blue Ribbon Committee. We are going to be talking to the Veterans Committee and Emergency Management in the future. And also the federal waivers. As you all know, the USDA came out and said, we're taking away that waiver where you can recertify people for SNAP. They're going to all have to apply in August, which is going to be a real challenge not only for the people who get SNAP benefits, but for our staff. It's going to be a lot more work. So unfortunately, that's what USDA did. On the 23rd, I had a COVID-19 task force, and on the 27th, yesterday, I had the Finance and Intergovernmental Affairs Committee with NACO, and then I had the Diversity Council last night. And we talked about how are we going to work together with other partners in order to do some things on diversity. So that's my report, sir.
All right. Well, we talked a lot about the way of the work session on the 14th. I had a RAC, or Rural Action Caucus conference call on the 15th. I had a TDS board meeting on the 16th, along with a NACO Transportation Committee on that afternoon. Colleen mentioned the NACO annual meeting on the 20th. That was an interesting setup. But,
it was.
Yeah, all the timing was off. It's like watching a Chinese movie. You know, people would talk, and then a few seconds later you'd hear it. But
on the video, it was bad.
It was really bad. The rest of the week, I spent up in Maplewood, helping my son move from his apartment to his new home. So I have mussels I've used that I haven't used for a long time. But we got them moved, and it was pretty good.
Could have had a mover, though.
It got them moved. This morning,
That's
Yeah,
right.
and you saved your muscles a little bit.
oh, I tell you, this morning at 7 o'clock, I had an airport commission meeting, and then now we're here. And I believe that's the end, isn't it, Bob?
Mr.
That's
Chair,
all.
if I might have just another minute.
Yes, you can have a whole bunch of minutes.
I want to take a minute to recognize the Roloff family, being selected as the Blue Earth County Farm Family of the Year.
Oh, amazing.
Bob and Jill Roloffs, and his parents, Hank and Jan. So we're really proud of them. They're doing a great job for agriculture in Blue Earth County.
Could we send a letter of commendation or something from Blue Earth County to them, or recognizing that?
That'd be a good idea, yes.
I think that'd be an amazing idea.
Very good idea.
Bob, could you make that happen?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. Any other points of interest? All right. A motion to adjourn?
So move, Mike Danner?
Second, people?
Got a motion and a second. Jesse, call the roll.
Commissioner People,
Aye.
Commissioner Purvis.
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder,
Aye.
Commissioner Landcamer,
Aye.
Chair Stuenberg.
Aye, and we will be meeting on a work session directly after this. The phone number is in the Blue Earth County website for the work session meeting if you wish to listen in. Thank you very much.
Wait a sec, like 10:15 maybe?
I would say about 10:15, 10:20. We're going to take about a 15-minute break.
Okay.
All right, thank you.